Here's a recap of the Baylor men's tennis season. They finished 29-4 overall. They were the Big 12 tournament champions. They were 4-1 in the Big 12, which is second best in the league last year. So they were 23-0 when they won doubles. So with the doubles point, they were unbeatable based on the record, but every losses came without doubles. So the first, of course, they dealt with some COVID stuff in the beginning of the year, but their first official match was Creighton at Creighton. That was a 7-0. Creighton at University of Nebraska, 7-0 win. Nebraska was a 6-1 win at Nebraska. Allen Christian and Waco was a 7-0 win. Boise State and Waco, 7-0 win. William & Mary was 4-0 win in the ITA kickoff weekend to beat Miami, Florida in the ITA kickoff weekend 4-0. They beat Idaho State 6-1 in Waco. They beat Incarnate Word in Waco 4-0. They beat a then top 10 Texas team, which later on I will explain what happened to them. They were sick. They lost. Baylor won 6-1. They beat Tulsa 4-1 in Waco. That was dicey. They beat Virginia, who is in the Final Four, because they beat Florida last night 4-2. But the Virginia versus Florida, by the way, was 4-1. They beat at the National Indoor Tournament. They beat Ole Miss 4-1 despite losing doubles. They beat number 10 Kentucky 4-3. They lost to Tennessee 4-2 in the semifinal for the National Indoor Tournament. They beat Oklahoma without the doubles point 4-3. They beat Illinois at the doubles point 4-1. They beat Arizona State at Arizona State 4-3 without the doubles point. But they beat Arizona 5-2. They lost to Michigan at Michigan 4-0. But that was a day that everyone was off at the same time. So as you could tell, the losses so far have not been convincing. They beat TCU at TCU 5-2. They beat Texas in Austin. Start the Big 12 6-0. That Texas team was good this year, but they were banged up for most of the year, if not all the year. Then they lost to TCU in the Big 12 regular season 4-3 in Waco. But they beat Oklahoma State in Waco 7-0. They beat Oklahoma in Waco 6-1. They beat Texas Tech at Texas Tech 4-3, though technically it would have been 4-0 if the matches didn't continue. Then they played Midwestern State in Waco 7-0. UT Tyler in Waco 7-0. They beat Texas in the Big 12 tournament 4-2, and Texas had some injury problems all year long because they were without Elise Baziri sometimes, Pierre Yves Bailey sometimes, Cleve Harper. So, and Michael Braswell, even for the Big 12 tournament, he didn't play until the Sweet 16 match where Texas lost to Michigan. They beat TCU at TCU in the Big 12 final 4-2, and they had a rain delay in that match, and they had to move it inside, and the fans were allowed to be on the court, and Baylor won a Big 12 title. And I uploaded the clinching the match point on. Yeah, the fans are allowed to be on the court at the time, so for that match, and it was not going to be anything like that again. They beat Abilene Christian at Ryan 64 4-0. They beat Texas A&M 4-2. That was a little more down. They beat Stanford in Waco 4-3 without doubles, and yesterday they just lost to Tennessee 4-3. They had chances to win, and a chance to win in straight sets at number 4 with Finn Bass, but he couldn't do it. He was up a break 6-5, but they went to a tiebreaker. He lost a tiebreaker. And then Adrian Boyton on 1 was up 5-3 in the third, serving for the win. Lost 4 games in a row. I'm not going to say it's on those two guys especially. It's just, you win as a team, you lose as a team. And I know it's very, very disappointing for them to not make it as far as they wanted to, considering last year they made it to the national championship match. But it's hard to get to this point because there's a lot of parity in the game, as you know, and Tennessee is better than that 6th seed. I know they are. And I knew going to that match, it was going to be a pick'em. A 4-3 was going to happen. Well, going forward. they will lose Matias Soto and Sven Law. Both of them have no more years of eligibility. They also lose Jacob Brun, but he didn't play much. Sven was inconsistent in singles all year long. But his thing was doubles, though. When he's on in double, when he was on in singles, he was on. But when he was off, he was off. Matias had a kind of a rough year, but he won yesterday against a top 10 player in Johannes Monday. So technically, he's 2-0-1. That one at the very end was like because he had match points, but the match finished when it happened in National Indoors this year. So he owns Johannes Monday. But the interesting question to me is who's going to be 2 and 3 singles next year? Because we're going to lose those two guys. And who's going to be, you got to replace part of a doubles team at 1 and 2. And luckily, Adrian Boiton will be back next year. That's a huge plus. Especially when he's your top guy. And he's one of the best players in the country. And yes, he lost yesterday, but that was only his second loss in singles all year long. So he was nearly a lock at 1. 5 and 6 were great for Baylor this year in terms of winning percentage as well as 1. It's just 2 through 4 was rough. And yes, I know we lost at 1 singles yesterday, but we were right there to win the match yesterday against Tennessee. But I want to just say Tennessee played better that day, and there was just a lot of parity in the game. And I know they're going to be ready and motivated for next year. And currently, I know they do have a verbally committed player, Luke Conan, for the spring of next year, but he has to sign his letter of intent. And there might be a transfer or two coming, because who knows? I never thought Nick Stokoyak, Spencer Furman from Duke would come to Baylor in 2020, as well as Charlie Broom from Dartmouth. And that's your 4 through 6. And the good news is you only lose 2 guys in the singles lineup. Though, granted, it's the 2 of the top 3, but it's a lot better than some scenarios like Florida. They're going to lose they're going to lose 5 out of the 6 guys in the singles lineup. And that's not even considering the top guy, Big Shelton, the coach's son, he could turn pro. So, it could be a lot worse for the Baylor men. Anyways, if you like this content, hit the like and subscribe button. And I'll see you guys later. It's going to be up to 400 subscribers or more by the end of this year. And I trust Michael Woodson and his staff to help improve the team going for next year and into the fall. And we'll see what happens in the spring in terms of the lineups. So, we'll see.